So how do you take out? Here's a terrorist in a room with a hostage.
How do you? So you tell me.
No, I don't need to tell you. I've told you what I think.
And you say to Hamas, please, can you kindly return the hostages, other than actually forcibly rescuing them?
So how does it work, Michelle? How does it work? Here's a room. There are 2 terrorists and 1 hostage in the room. Tell me how these tactics rescue the hostage.
Well, they'll take out
2 militants, 1 hostage, 1 door. Which tactic actually gets that person out alive? That's our room test. And at 5:11, the debate flips from emotion to mechanism. Before we dive in, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Here's the challenge. If you cut power, restrict water, and order mass evacuations, what's the step-by-step path that ends with a living hostage at the door? If a tactic can't map to intel isolation, controlled entry, and safe exfil, it's not rescue, it's a different objective with a nicer label. Question for the comments. Can cutting power, water plus mass evacuation be called hostage rescue? Yes or no? What's the mechanism?
But what I wanted to say, and I don't want to get cut off, but...
oh, no, you worried me. Carry on.
No, because what I wanted to say is that why the anti-Semitism has been so difficult is because, obviously, I hear you talking about, does Israel operate to, do they need to operate to moral rules? Of course they do. They are the Israeli Defense Force. And as Jewish people and Judaism, you are governed to act in a certain way. Nothing is more important than life. And the way that I'm looking on Facebook of that image of that poor girl who's in her underwear, her G-string and her bra.
Yes, careful, because trigger warnings are important.
Right,
There's a reason why you don't look at the pictures that you've just described in grim terms. So I'm also reading about the 6-year-old child in America murdered for being Palestinian.
But let me just talk about just before. Obviously,
I'm going to have to hurry you now, Michelle.
Right. But what I want to say is the conflating of how you can talk about the Israeli army that's going in to get its hostages. Imagine in the UK,
the coverage in Israel. The coverage in Israel has been incredibly critical about the lack of concern being expressed for the hostages.
Well, that's it, because this is like now, as you said, how many
by the Israeli government.
But the problem is because
nobody thinks that cutting off electricity and water and telling 1.1 million people to relocate is about rescuing hostages, Michelle.
Well, this is an active hostage situation.
Yes, but no one thinks this is the whole point in a way, isn't it? You can't with a straight face argue that these are measures being undertaken to rescue hostages.
I disagree, James. Because
right. So talk me through how it works then.
But as a British citizen, imagine if we had people, babies, children, grandparents, people,
Yes, I can imagine that. But talk me through how these tactics work.
Well, they have to go in on a ground level to try and find where people are and rescue them. That's what's happening. That's why they.
Why are they moving 1.1? Why are they moving 1.1 million people to the south? Who?
They want to get the people. We know that Hamas uses people.
But wouldn't you take the hostages with you?
All I think about is, what can you imagine how amazing it would be if the Jewish people had given the benefit of getting out the way? No, because Hamas doesn't behave like it does.
But you're not supposed to be conflating. You're not supposed to be.
That's my exact point.
Right.
I'm just demonstrating how we don't behave like those animals.
Yes, that's fine. But how does this tactic work? How does cutting off electricity and water for 1 million people?
Well, because you know that Hamas is using the people as human shields, and they're trying to get the enemy out.
So what happens? They all stay.
In Afghanistan,
you can keep talking, but here's the problem, and it's not really the question that I'm asking. But I understand that's a bit ambitious and optimistic of me, given the depth of emotion that everybody is feeling. But I don't understand. I am a Hamas terrorist. I am holding an Israeli hostage. I become more likely to peacefully hand that hostage back as a consequence of what Israel is going to undertake in the next few days. I just don't understand how you end up at that conclusion. I understand why you desperately want it to be true, but it sounds absurd.
But you say that, but I'm no hostage negotiator expert. But
you're telling me that you're certain
that when your enemy has your people, you're trying to make it an uncomfortable climate to try and get the people out. But that's what. And
how does that happen though? Because the hostages are on the receiving end of the bombardments and the collective punishments as well.
I'm not privy to the operational detail, but what I can say
you don't
is,
have to be privy to the operational detail. You have to justify your own position that this is going to work, because I don't think it's got anything to do with hostages. I think this is revenge, and I understand that. Retaliation is perhaps a better word. We know that. Well, of course it is, and we know that
that's a luxury that you can say, because you haven't got 150 people who are trapped in a
and I haven't got 1,300 people dead either, or whatever the Palestinian figure is now. So this isn't conflation.
Forget about those hostages. Should there be no attempt to rescue them? Then
I don't think there is any attempt to rescue them.
Family member.
I don't think there is any attempt to rescue them. That's what the bulk of coverage in Israel has said all week. That they've been treated with borderline contempt.
Because it hasn't been immediate rescue.
No, because the tactics that are being undertaken cannot possibly be cast as hostage rescuing tactics, and I think you must know that, because you've gone from saying you're certain that it will to saying, well, I don't know any of the operational details and I don't understand any.
I don't. But
so
I
just have a crack then, please. Have one go at explaining to me how. You can do all the counterfactuals. You can do all the counterfactuals you want. So how does it help? How does it work? That's all I want to know.
They're trying to locate and take out Hamas, which they've said that they want to do.
But Hamas are with the hostages.
Right. So actually, what you're asking.
So how do you take out? Here's a terrorist in a room with a hostage.
How do you? So you tell me.
No, I don't need to tell you. I've told you what I think.
And you say to Hamas, please, can you kindly return the hostages, other than actually forcibly rescuing them?
So how does it work, Michelle? How does it work? Here's a room. There are 2 terrorists and 1 hostage in the room. Tell me how these tactics rescue the hostage.
Well, they'll take out.
Michelle opens with morality, Jewish ethics, the primacy of life, the duty to act. James answers with mechanics. Intentions don't equal outcomes. If you cut power, restrict water, and tell 1.1 million people to move, where is the operational bridge to a living hostage walking out? That's where his thought experiment bites. If I'm the captor, what makes me release the hostage? Not the horror, not the motive, the mechanism. Michelle restates the objective. Locate and take out Hamas. James returns to the room test. 2 militants, 1 hostage, 1 door. Walk me through it, step by step. What happens first, second, third? Because real rescue isn't a vibe, it's a sequence. Verified intel, positive ID on the hostage, isolation of the space, controlled entry, suppression of threats without fratricide, separation of the hostage from the shooters, and exfil in seconds, not speeches. If a tactic can't map to that chain, it's not hostage rescue. It might be deterrence, degradation, or retaliation, but not rescue. Michelle's honesty lands. She doesn't see a better alternative. That candor matters. But it also underlines James's core point. If the plan leans on broad pressure, power cuts, mass displacement, without a clear causal route to safe extraction, then the label is doing more work than the method. And this is the heart of it. Language like hostage rescue carries a burden of proof. If you claim it, show the control measures that keep the hostage alive under fire. Show how you find, fix, and finish the captors without finishing the person you're trying to save. No one wins this exchange. What's revealed is the gap. Until someone can pass the room test, show the steps, not just the stance. The rationale sounds less like a rescue blueprint and more like a broad security operation wearing a comforting name. Bottom line, if the tactic earns the label, it should survive the room. Show how the door opens and how a living hostage crosses the threshold.
The terrorists, that's what
they're in the same room.
They're having a ground invasion. I don't know why you're asking this question like it's the first time that hostage rescue has ever happened.
Because I don't think this is hostage rescue, and I don't think you do either.
Right. No, to be honest, I do think this is hostage rescue.
Well, then you must tell me how it works.
Exactly the same.
You must tell me how it works.
Just explained. But what I'm understanding is you think it's okay just to leave these people to die.
I think anything's okay. I don't have any. That's not fair at all. I haven't said anything.
It is, because then.
No, I'm just asking you because your justification for what is going to happen is that it's a hostage rescue attempt, and I just want one sentence that would allow me to think, oh yes, she's got a point. This looks like a hostage rescue attempt.
When Israel disengaged from Gaza,
please answer my question specific to the.
Answer my question.
I don't have to answer your question because I'm not endorsing any course of action. I'm comparing it to a natural disaster or a tsunami. You're saying that this carnage that's about to be unleashed is justified by the fact that it's a hostage rescue action. I'm saying I can't really see any evidence at all for that rationale, and I'm just asking you to provide a little bit.
Well, it's definitely not the same as a tsunami because that has been man-made entirely. So that's not a fair point of comparison.
Well, I know, but it's the Israeli Defense Force that is on the offensive now, not the Hamas terrorists. So I mean, I'm using.
Well, I don't know if they're going to. I don't think that's a very fair fight when they're being backed and armed by.
No, I know you don't. I know you don't. But I'm just gonna. I'm not listening. I've given you the whole of this section of the program. Can we agree that you haven't got a single scintilla of support for the idea that this is a good way of rescuing hostages?
I don't know what the other option is apart from just.
That's very honest of you. That's very honest of you. But even more honest would be to say the truth, which we both know to be that you haven't got a single scintilla of support for the idea that this is a good way of rescuing hostages. And much of the coverage, which doesn't mean it's correct, but there's certainly a majority of the coverage, including the families of an awful lot of the hostages, which you must have read, Michelle. You must have seen this. They do not believe that this is a hostage rescue attempt. And Frank, I don't think anybody does, really.
At the end of the day, labels don't save people. Methods do. If a tactic claims the title hostage rescue, it has to clear one bar, the room test. If you believe broad pressure measures qualify, then map the chain. Intel acquisition, positive ID, isolation of the space, controlled entry with ROE that prioritize the hostage, immediate separation, and clean exfil with medical cover and deconfliction. Show how each step reduces risk to the hostage rather than pushing it onto them. If you don't buy it, pinpoint the fault line. Does pressure sever comms with captors, degrade intel, or collapse predictability inside the room? Does it blur retaliation, deterrence, or area control with the much narrower craft of rescue? That's the burden of proof the label carries, not rhetoric, sequence, not resolve, safeguards. Until someone can walk us from tactic to threshold, door opens, hostage out, breathing, the argument remains a promise without a plan. Until next time, this has been The Whip Line. Thanks for tuning in.